Hi. Is that it? Right. Should we start again?
Nope.
Okay. Hello, welcome to the Cricket Nerds podcast. I didn't realise I was starting this, but there we go. We are here to talk about cricket because that's what you've come to listen to. And before we get into it, remember to like, remember to subscribe, remember to tell your friends about us because we want the views. So today we have a few things to talk about. The first thing we're going to talk about is the dramatic finish that took place in the Asia Cup, India versus Pakistan. It's the fixture of the year. When you know that India are playing Pakistan, it's always a massive fixture, and it's their second match, and it's now 1-1 because India won the first one. And it was a good tussle from both sides. India started with 181 for 7, and it was a great start to their innings, all thanks to Rohit Sharma.
Yeah, I thought he was actually really explosive. He kind of did what he's been doing recently, which is not really going on to do big scores, but he's doing what like statisticians would love, which is like the absolute model T20 team is like sort of 7 batsmen that are really good at just swinging for it, and they generally get like 30 with a very high strike rate, 30 or 40 with a very high strike rate, and that will then give you the highest scores. So that's what Rohit did, and KL Rahul kind of followed suit. It was a very fast knock for him.
I was going to say that,
yeah, but then they both only went out for 28. But then coming in at 3, Virat Kohli. What did you think of his performance, Bench?
it was good. I think it's the start of, I think, the Kohli redemption arc. Like, he's been on a bit of a downer for a while. Everyone's, been doubting him. He didn't really do much in the IPL, didn't really do much in the series against England. He had a couple of knocks in some of the T20s, but he's not been King Kohli, has he really? But I think that was a proper innings from Kohli, really cementing himself as that rock of that Indian batting attack. And he got all the way through to that last over, flicks it, and he get himself run out, even though he was coming back from the second and probably didn't need to get himself run out. But it was okay because big Ravi Bishnoi came out and smashed 2 fours of the last ball of the innings to get India up to a total of 181. And 181 for 7 seems like it was a pretty good total. I'd be pretty chuffed with that in a T20. I know that these guys like to go around the 200 mark, but 181's not a bad knock. I think a couple of the bits that really damaged India, and I don't know what you think about this, Zach, but it's that middle and lower order. Like, none of them really did the cameo that they need to. They all scored about 13, 14, but off 10, 12 balls rather than that quicker strike rate that they probably needed. So do you reckon that impacted their game a bit?
Definitely. I think they, in a way, were 10, 15 runs short, especially given how Pakistan finished the game off. But they were going at about 10 and over for the first 9 overs, which is really quick at the start of your innings. And Kohli, I don't know, although his innings was really good and it kind of anchored the innings, you almost wanted a Suryakumar Yadav or a Rishabh Pant or a Hardik Pandya to kind of go from there and keep the momentum going. But Pakistan did a very good job of restricting those gun players. They kind of allowed Kohli to just do his thing. And the key players who have been winning these T20 games for India, like Hardik Pandya's been winning games for India on his own pretty much, and he got a duck. It's been good from India, from Pakistan, to restrict them. And I want to specifically mention Mohammad Nawaz. Now, this guy kind of goes under the radar because when you think of Pakistan's team, you think of Rizwan, Babar Azam, Shadab Khan, Naseem Shah, Haris Rauf, to name a few. You don't really think about Mohammad Nawaz, who's the off-spinning all-rounder. But he was he had a ridiculous game. Went at 6.25 and over, so he properly contained them throughout those middle overs. Then he wins the game with 42 off 20, and also he took 3 catches. So this guy's had a Gary Sobers cricket match pretty much.
Yeah.
It's been awesome.
I was really impressed with him actually, and I think, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. The impact that he had in kind of just breaking that middle order meant that Kohli, I think he slowed down a bit once the middle order collapsed, because he was actually going at a fair nip. He was going like 140, 150, which was very good. But then I think he had to kind of anchor. He had to become the anchor again, just because that middle order didn't fire. And what would have been perfect is if they started teeing off, and then he can carry on his natural game of, classy shots, put it in the gap for 2s, and then the occasional beautiful 6 or whatever. But yeah, Mohamed Nawaz was absolutely brilliant. Someone else I was really impressed with for their overall kind of death bowling was Harris Ralph, because he has absolute wheels, and he completely stopped Kohli because he was nailing like 150 kilometer an hour Yorkers. Nobody can do that. Like, Kohli is probably, as far as technique goes, one of the greatest batsmen to ever play the game. But you don't play 150 kilometer per hour Yorkers, because they're just impossible. And, it didn't take him long before he really felt the pressure to have to score again in those death overs. What did you think kind of went wrong or went right for India and Pakistan respectively at the end? Because it looked like it was India's game for quite a lot of that time. A brilliant knock from Mohammad Rizwan yet again, and obviously Mohamed Nawaz was brilliant. But then it looked. I was sure that India had it in the bag.
Yeah, I think it was just that staying power of Nawaz and Rizwan. They actually had that partnership through the middle that I think had them on that platform. I think what Arshdeep was defending, was it 7 off last over, was it?
Yeah.
Or so what they'd done is India didn't leave them. India left themselves with not enough runs on the board to defend. I think what went right for Pakistan was they were able to keep that pressure on through the middle and actually find a way to score the runs through those middle overs. Then at the end, I think also Asif Ali came out, and he came in at number 6, and he hit a 16 off 8. So I think that's just different to when you look at Deepak Hooda, who hit 16 off 14. And as it turns out, those additional 6 deliveries were vital. That's like a whole over that he's got in that same time. So I think just that knock at the end there, and as well with Kushal Saha to basically get them over the line there. So I think that was the little difference, was their ability to keep scoring. For the rest of the Asia Cup tournament, though, I'm a bit worried for Pakistan, because they've now got yet another injury in Mohammad Rizwan, potentially is going for a knee scan. So they've already done that. They're already missing Shaheen Sharafridi, and now they're potentially missing Rizwan too. So it could be a little bit of a concern for the rest of that tournament.
Yeah. They need, I was just going to say, they need Babar Azam to step up, because he's not in this tournament, and he's the kind of the second best to Rizwan, or maybe he should be the best really, but I don't know if captaincy's getting to, I'm not sure. But he needs to really step up and deliver for Pakistan, and the rest of the team as well. They're doing really well. Like, you look at Asif Ali, who you mentioned, Ben. Like, he hit 19 off Bhuvaneshwar's Kumar's penultimate over, and that's what he does. His job is to bully death bowlers because I think he's played at least 40 20-20 matches with a higher score of 41. But he strikes at like 135, as James was saying, that ideal 20-20 player. That's him. And they've got these other players. And I think if they get all these injuries, they need their other players to stand up to make the difference. But it's a good tournament.
Oh, what I was going to say for India, they need to hold faith, because I think my boy Arshdeep Singh dropped an absolute dolly off Ravi Bishnой's over that kind of lost them the game. And that's something you hate to see. So if you're an India fan, go easy on him because he's only young and he's your best death bowler at the moment. So, leave the kid alone. But also, I thought Bhuvi just bowling kind of length balls in the penultimate over cost them because it was a bit too predictable. And I think ideally, if he was hitting the Yorkers, that would have been the best case scenario. Let's move on quite quickly or briefly because something excellent has happened. Now, we're all Trent Rockets fans. We're all Notts fans. And in the 100, Trent Rockets beat Manchester Originals in the final to win the second ever 100 competition.
Yeah.
And it was a low-scoring thriller. I was actually really impressed with it. I think the whole tournament has actually been another success. It has been very entertaining. I'm still I don't like the novelty of it just being 100 balls. It still irritates me. But
sets instead of overs. And
it bugs my brain. But it's something that is, it's fun. And it was a good tournament. And the ECB have done it right. Benj, what was your opinion on the low-scoring thriller that was the final?
Well, yeah, I just want to say that I really enjoyed the 100 this year. I think it's a short tournament. It lasts 1 month, which, unlike the IPL, which goes on for 3 years, it feels like every time. So I didn't get sick of it, and I was following it the whole way through. And yeah, I'm chuffed to bits in the Trent Rocket boys for coming through the end. Lewis Gregory in the last set, the last 5 balls, hitting a 6 of 4 and a 6 of 4 and a 4 to win the game. You couldn't write it, couldn't make the stuff up, but it was a great feeling. I mean, they were definitely the best team through the whole tournament. Like my boys Chennai, wearing yellow, which just proves that teams that wear yellow are the best, apart from Australia. So that's no, ignore that comment completely. I'm going to edit that out. But yeah, no, it was a great tournament. I think, again, the ECB have done a massive credit to themselves, and in especially, I think, in inspiring that younger generation of new cricketers. The club that I play for, we moved our annual club day because there was a Trent Rockets game on Monday and had it the following Saturday. So you can see that there's this whole generation of kids who are getting excited. They've got 100 fever. They're all Trent Rockets fans. They want to see their star players playing around the country. And it's fantastic. I think it was a great edition this year. And I think hopefully we can, one of these years, not be on holiday the whole of August and actually follow it a bit closer.
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting what you said, Benj, about the star players coming to watch the star players, because there is a bit of a thing with the 100, which is that Ben Stokes didn't play to concentrate on the test matches, and Johnny Bairstow didn't play to concentrate on the test matches. And we'll come to talk about Johnny Bairstow in a minute because he's injured. But them not being in the 100, firstly, Johnny Bairstow's omission really hampered the Welsh Fire. It hindered the Welsh Fire. They were not in form at all. And Ben Stokes is the most exciting player in world cricket for a lot of people. And I think having the key English players out the game, out the 100 is not great in terms of getting people excited about it. As I know everyone in England's excited about it, but you see how we love the IPL and lots of other people enjoy watching the IPL. It's because the best players play in that tournament. So if the ECB want the 100 to stand up as their thing, in order for the rest of the countries to get on board, you want the best English players playing. So I think they've got to kind of look at the schedule and think, how can we manage it so that during the 100 window, there isn't much international cricket going on so that our best players can play in it. But there's always going to be scheduling issues in England. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. I also think what they need to do with the 100 is sell the franchises, because everybody's dressed up as a crisp packet at the moment, which is unacceptable.
Come on, the skips.
And they're obviously not, like, if it's all ECB funded or sponsored by one company, there's not enough money going into it. Like, it's still a good money maker, but think about the IPL. There is so much more potential there. So if they actually sold it to some franchises, you could really see some some money going into it, which means that you're going to be able to pay people more, which means you're going to get more international players wanting to stick around instead of, you know, getting lost within like for the last 2 games to join the CPL. Like it does make a big difference. Like you don't leave the IPL early that often because you're making so much money from it. You feel a bit more loyalty. Whereas, you know, Tabraiz Shamsi just left Trent Rockets for the last game because, oh no, CPL, I'm getting more. So
yeah, no, but the IPL is the only franchise tournament that's got its own window in the ICC calendar, whereas the 100 doesn't. So that's the difference there, is that IPL's got a blocked out window specifically for it, which is why you don't.
It's because it pays so many cricketers wages.
Well, it's because it's BCCI, but never mind. We're going to get cancelled. Should we talk about Johnny Bairstow?
Yes.
What spoon?
Yeah. Oh,
Hurt himself playing golf.
He's managed to probably break his leg walking up to the tee box, playing golf in Harrogate or something, which is not a good way to go. However, and obviously, like, this is horrible. We don't want this to happen at all. We love Johnny Bairstow. But if it was going to happen to any position in the England Test lineup, the number 5 would be the place you'd want it to happen to, because that gives the opportunity for Harry Brook, who has been crying out for a debut the entire English summer, and he really does deserve a debut. So that is a consolation. However, I would say it has more implications for the England T20 World Cup squad. What's your opinion, Zach?
I agree, because it means that we are down a keeping option and an opening option. However, I think it's not the end of the world, because as you say, Johnny Bairstow not being at number 5 in the test matches, there's lots of county championship players at number 5 who could step up, like you've said, Harry Brook, but also Dan Lawrence potentially, who's played test cricket before. Ben Duckett, yeah. Whereas in the 2020s, there are a lot of English county openers in 2020 cricket, like Tom Banton, like Will Smead, like Phil Salt, who's in the squad, who will probably get the gig, Alex Hales. So yeah, there's lots of options there. However, who would you rather see opening the batting for England in the World Cup? Johnny Bairstow and Joss Butler, or Phil Salt and Joss Butler? And the answer is Johnny Bairstow and Joss Butler, because Johnny Bairstow is destructive in 2020 cricket. So yeah, it's a shame that he's injured. England have a history of freak injuries. Like when Rory Burns got injured playing football and they banned football. So are they now going to ban golf? And Jofra Archer, he broke his hand on a fish tank. Are they going to ban them having fish? I don't know.
They should ban lockers, because Ben Stokes punched a locker, broke his wrist, didn't he?
That's just it, isn't it?
So that's all we've got time for. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. We will see you guys again soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe, as Zach said right at the start of the video. So I'm sure you already have, but if you haven't, tell your auntie, tell your uncle, and tell your cat.
It's free.
It is free. You can always like unsubscribe in a while when you realize you hate us, but you won't do that because we're brilliant. So follow our social medias as well. We are at Cricket Nerds Pod. You can also listen to our podcasts. All right. You might be at work. You might be driving. You can't watch a YouTube video while you're driving, silly, but you can listen to a podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. So do that instead, silly. All right. Bye.